Caregiving can sometimes feel like an impossible struggle. Caregivers may be torn between taking care of loved ones and trying to maintain balance in life. The good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. The Caring Generation with host Pamela D Wilson is here to focus on the conversation of caring. You're not alone. In fact, you're in exactly the right place to share stories and learn tips and resources to help you and your loved ones. So now, please welcome the host of The Caring Generation, Pamela D Wilson.
I'm Pamela D Wilson, caregiving expert, speaker, consultant, and guardian of the Caring Generation. Thank you for joining me for this week's show, episode 221, Underestimating Elderly Care Needs, Tips for Family Caregivers. Are you a caregiver who has underestimated the care needs of an elderly parent? You're working full-time and doing all you can to care for your elderly parents. You realize that this situation is not sustainable, and you're wondering how you can detach yourself from the care situation without your elderly parents freaking out. Before jumping into this week's topic, please, if you find this podcast helpful, click the like or follow button on your podcast app and take a minute to add a positive review. Your likes, follows, and reviews help the Caring Generation podcast grow and reach more listeners seeking solutions related to health, financial, legal, and complicated family matters worldwide. Few adult children, unless they had prior caregiving experience, realize how quickly the expectations of aging parents can grow when children begin helping out here and there. The best action you can take if you're feeling overextended, exhausted, and possibly resentful is to be honest with mom and dad, a spouse, or another family member. If you have difficulty holding conversations about complex topics, or it's difficult for you to manage conflict with people, it may not be easy for you to tell mom or dad that you can't keep doing everything you've been doing. But if you don't, the situation will worsen. You may become more impatient, more angry about having to trade your life and priorities to care for mom and dad. Depending on where you are in your caregiving journey, whether at the beginning or maybe years into a situation that is taking way more time than you ever expected, the caregiver tips and advice I'm about to share can be helpful. Let's start with the basics. Most caregivers make themselves constantly available to elderly parents. You answer the phone every time mom or dad calls. You drive over to their house when they need something they believe to be urgent, but it's not urgent. It might be just that the television remote isn't working or they can't figure it out. A light bulb has gone out in a lamp, or they need eggs and milk. If you've rushed to save the day in the past, you trained your elderly parents to believe that you'll meet their every need right now. My advice, in addition to stopping being constantly available, is to create a caregiving agreement with specifics about expectations and what you can do. Creating a caregiving agreement is an essential step in establishing clear expectations and setting boundaries. This is possible in care situations that do not involve dementia or another mental health disorder that's really progressed or that prevents an individual from understanding the concept of expectations, boundaries, and participation requirements. Because this does it does require participation from your elderly parents. If you're struggling with any of this and you'd like to learn more about scheduling a one-on-one consultation with me, visit my website, PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Services tab, and then select Elderly Care Consultant. If you're accessing my website via mobile, there are 3 bars to the right at the top where you can find the menu to select these choices. Most caregivers who are constantly available have not established boundaries or even had discussions about caregiving expectations with their elderly parents. If you're in this situation, is it time for a change? If this is your situation, it's likely that your elderly parents will say, "Oh, you're doing too much for me. Please stop." Actually, it's not likely that your elderly parents will say that. Or they also won't say, "Why don't we hire someone else to do these things so that you can live your life?" Or maybe it's time for me to move into assisted living since caregiving is becoming so time-consuming for you. I can see that caring for me is negatively affecting your life. I will tell you, your elderly parents or your spouse is rarely, if ever, probably never going to say those things. Those are things that we as caregivers dream of hearing. In the areas of agreements, let mom and dad know that you have so much going on in your life that you're feeling stressed and you are going to start scheduling your time. Create a calendar for your parents that includes projects and tasks that you help with, those that you can continue to help with, along with the dates that you plan to complete them. You can also create a separate list of things that you used to do that you can no longer do, so that your parents can start thinking about, well, am I going to have to do these things myself or find someone else? And here's a warning. Don't go so far as to tell your parents everything else you have to do. Otherwise, they may start judging the things you do when you're not with them. What you do on your own time, whether at work, school, with a spouse, family time, or playtime, it's your business. You can simply tell your parents, "Oh, I have work, family, or other commitments that require my attention," without going into any details. Now, if this conversation makes elderly parents feel unimportant or less loved, that is for them to figure out why they feel this way. That is not on you. If mom or dad starts saying things like, "Oh, you don't have time for me," rather than feeling guilty, you can say, "You know what? You're right. I don't have time. I underestimated the impact of helping you on my life. I have so many things I need to catch up with, and I've got to stay on track with my projects, with my life." Continuing with the topic of caregiver agreements, which I recommend you put in writing, let's talk about scheduling and the unscheduled stopovers, the phone calls, and the text messages from your parents or your loved one at all hours of the day. Let them know that you'll respond within 24 hours unless it's an emergency. If mom or dad needs help with projects that you can't do, remember that other list, then it's time for them to ask one of your siblings, hire a paid caregiver, or find someone else to help with the tasks, or even do the tasks themselves. Any tasks that your parents can do for themselves, they should do rather than becoming reliant on other people. Your goal here is to let them know that you underestimated the situation. Be honest. You can blame yourself for that. And although you may have been a short-term solution, your situation has changed. And now a permanent solution is necessary for care and help for your parents. You'll help where and when you can. This means that you may need to teach your parents how to navigate health and other issues. The idea is to teach them, not to do for them. Let's start with health. If your elderly parents need more help due to increasing health problems, then discuss their interactions with their primary care doctor. Ideally, this should be a geriatrician if one is available, but in some communities there are no geriatricians, and a primary care doctor is probably the best that you can do. Ensure that your parents attend regular doctor appointments. Request a list of their health diagnoses and medications so that you have a clear understanding of the issues and what you're working with. Then, ask your parents if they're following the doctor's recommendations or ignoring them. You might be surprised at what you hear. Your parents may not even understand their health diagnosis or why they take the medications they take. This may have resulted in your parents feeling sick. They feel unwell. They're more tired. They're complaining about one health issue after another. To jumpstart this part of the caregiver agreement about your parents being more proactive about their health, talk to your parents about scheduling an annual Medicare wellness visit. Even go to the extent of doing a 3-way call with your parents to schedule that appointment with the doctor. Next, attend the appointment with your parents in person or attend by your cell phone. During these appointments, doctors conduct routine screenings and they talk about all aspects of your parents' health, including their diagnosis and a review of medications. Make sure your parents understand their diagnosis and what this looks like 3 months and 6 months and a year from now. Make sure your parents understand what happens if they don't follow the doctor's orders or take actions to prevent more health problems or to prevent the health problems they have from getting worse. Some of these actions may be simple. We all know them. It's exercise, paying attention to diet, maintaining a proper weight. These tasks are your parents' responsibilities. They're not yours. Similarly, if you haven't had an annual physical and you're not taking care of yourself as the caregiver, get your appointment scheduled. Do it now. Never underestimate the value of proactive, preventative, and self-care. On the topic of self-care, have honest discussions with elderly parents about things they can and must do for themselves to remain and live independently. This may include the need to hire and pay for caregivers if they cannot take care of all their daily needs, or if they choose to ignore doctors' recommendations. Or maybe they're at a point where their health isn't going to improve because it's been ignored for so long. While I know this may sound harsh, this is a reality for everyone, for you and me, our parents, people in our family. The state of a person's health is a combination of everything they have done in their life to take care of themselves or not. Exercise, eating appropriately, maintaining an appropriate weight, managing stress. Now, it's not that crazy health issues don't happen. They do come out of the blue. But we have a great effect on our health. Throughout our lives, education is part of being healthy. And if your parents haven't had that education before, you are now checking this off the list by scheduling and attending the annual Medicare wellness visit with them. You're also checking it off your list by scheduling your annual doctor appointment. It's never too late to learn and to act to be in better health. The next area where caregivers underestimate care for elderly loved ones is financial discussions. Are your parents struggling to get by each month? Is there plenty of money to pay the bills and do other things? Do you know how much money your parents have? What is their monthly income? What do they have saved? Estimates confirm that approximately $200,000 is required after age 65 to cover health and health-related expenses for the average person. Do your parents have this much money in savings and monthly income? If not, it's best to combine discussions about the current state of their health and healthcare costs. It's actually practical to have these discussions even if they do have money. Now, these costs include medical appointments, co-pays, prescriptions, and any unexpected health issues that may arise, which do happen after age 60, 65, 70, and 75. Health issues for adults are occurring earlier and earlier these days. In fact, people in their 40s and 50s are being diagnosed with chronic diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, and others. If an elderly parent is diagnosed with dementia or cancer, is there extra money to pay for dementia care or chemotherapy and all of the associated medical appointments and tests? Being diagnosed with multiple health issues and receiving treatment can be very costly, especially if a person doesn't have good insurance or an insurance plan keeps denying or delaying care referrals and treatments. Healthcare treatment can be costly, especially if individuals don't have the money to pay for care. The cost is advancing health issues and worse health. On the topic of delaying care and care referrals, documentation does exist that Medicare Advantage plans deny and delay care for their beneficiaries. After all, and this is a big negative, if an elderly parent or patient dies, it's actually less costly for the insurance company. So many of them have in the past delayed treatment and denied care for 6 to 12 months. I know the government's working on this, but it has happened and it probably still is happening. The current health situation of an elderly parent indicate how their conditions might progress. If they're being proactive, maybe more slowly. If they're not, if they can't be, their health conditions may be able to go downhill. And available money to pay for care will be necessary, whether it's care in their home, medical care, hiring caregivers, moving to a care community, or a nursing home. It's important to have these discussions so that you do not underestimate the care needs of your elderly parents, so that they do not underestimate their care needs, and your elderly parents have a plan for how they will care for themselves that doesn't always involve you. Hiring caregivers, moving to a care community, or a nursing home. It's important to have these discussions so that you do not underestimate the care needs of your elderly parents, so that they do not underestimate their care needs, and your elderly parents have a plan for how they will care for themselves that doesn't always involve you. And last, the most significant aspect of caregiving that spouses and adult children caregivers, who are the majority of family caregivers, often overlook is boundary setting and helping others learn how to do things for themselves. Admittedly, some caregivers don't know how to set boundaries, and they may not have the information to teach parents or spouses how to do things themselves. This is where I can be helpful. With over 25 years navigating health, financial, legal, and family discussions around caregiving, if you need help, you can go to my website to learn about scheduling a one-on-one consultation. Go to PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Services tab, then select Elderly Care Consultant. If you are accessing my website via your phone, there are 3 bars to the right at the top of the page where you can find this menu. Caregivers, the more you continue to do for people you care for, the greater the expectations will become until you start having honest conversations. The reality is that if the person you care for is elderly and has health concerns, they will eventually require more time and care. This is just part of aging. It's part of life. If you can't be the person to provide this, or if you don't want to be, there's nothing wrong with admitting it now and talking about it now, sooner rather than later, when you may feel more guilty that you've let this go on for a year or 3 years or 5 years, and now the situation has to change. Rather than underestimating what might be needed in the future for an elderly parent, a spouse, anyone else in your family, or you as the caregiver, obtain a clear picture of your health today, diagnosis, medications, finances, and your financial planning for your care, and then address legal issues such as power of attorney and wills, if those haven't been completed. Discussing this now rather than trying to guess or underestimating or ignoring these details can pave the way for realistic expectations in caring for elderly parents and a spouse, and in planning for your care as an adult who may be caring for someone else, but who may eventually need care themselves. I'm Pamela D Wilson, a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker on the caring generation. Thank you for joining me for episode 221, Underestimating Elderly Care Needs, Tips for Family Caregivers. To view the show transcript and the video that accompanies this podcast episode, go to my website, PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Media tab, and then select The Caring Generation, and you can scroll down to episode 221. You can also check out the other 220 episodes there. I look forward to being with you again soon. God bless you all. Sleep well tonight. Have a fabulous day tomorrow, and enjoy each day until we are here together again.
Tune in each week for The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson. Come join the conversation and see how Pamela can provide solutions and peace of mind for everyone. Here on Pamela D. Wilson's The Caring Generation.